Welcome. I am Kristin Tjornehoj from the University of Wisconsin River Falls Music Department, where I conduct the symphony band, the symphony orchestra, and teach music education-related classes. With me today is a guest, Babatunde Lea. And Babatunde is going to be a guest with the symphony band as we try to bring world music to the concert hall stage of William Abbott Concert Hall. So welcome, Babatunde.
Thank you, Professor Tjornehoj.
It's so fun to have him here. We had a great rehearsal where we brought some creativity in, and we had people playing lots of this equipment we're going to do today. One of the things that I do here at River Falls is I also teach a world music class. And one of my goals is to have live interviews that really show people what performing musicians do, and especially people who've had a very creative background, different than maybe a conductor in the Midwest like me. So I'm very happy to have you here.
Well, it's good to be here because I see that there is a space here to bring what I do and what I know and my experiences here to the area, especially learning the different drumming traditions from the African diaspora. And I'm really excited about being a part of this and making the plot thicken.
I love it. I like it. I like the plot thickening, and I've heard you play, and you're absolutely amazing.
Oh, well, thank you.
So you've got an interesting background because here you are in the Midwest, living near River Falls, and I'm so happy. So we've got to make sure that we're going to share a little bit of your talent, but your background is amazing. So tell us a little bit about where you've been, what you've done, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, I'm originally from Inglewood, New Jersey, and then when I got out of high school, I moved to San Francisco back in the 60s, and you know, I played all through. I've been playing some kind of drum since I was 11 years old, and I started playing professional once I was in San Francisco, and I've been very fortunate to play with some of the masters in the music and in the jazz genre. I first started playing with Oscar Brown Jr. I don't know, the vocalist, and I played with Leon Thomas, another vocalist, and Pharoah Sanders, and McCoy Tyner, and Stan Getz, and I recorded an album with Van Morrison, and so I've done a lot of varied genres of music, from San Francisco to the East Coast to Europe, and I played and taught in all these different places, and I know a wide array of different drumming traditions, you know, from congas. I have a program that I teach called Rhythms of the African Diaspora, and we go from West Africa, in the Sub-Saharan Africa, like Mali and Senegal, Nigeria, then we come over to Afro-Cuban, go into Afro-Brazilian, and Haiti, and Dominican Republic, and here, you know, so all these different genres. I know the basic techniques for all of them, and actually teaching this has really, you know, first I was like a performing artist. That was the pinnacle of what I wanted to do, what I've been doing, and I love it.
And doing so successfully.
Right, yeah, but then when I started teaching, I've been teaching all along, but then when I got to Gettysburg, I got a real full-on experience of teaching. I taught 2 classes, you know, from like 09 till just last year. And I found out that I really loved it, you know, imparting this knowledge and watching the kids come from not having any experience on that to exciting themselves and being, it's kind of like a disbelief. Look what I'm doing now at this point. And so I'm really enjoying that process and being able to work. And I'm trying to hopefully do that here in this area. And actually, I've been to Eau Claire, UW Eau Claire, and I've been up in Minneapolis and St. Paul. And I don't tell anybody, but UW River Falls is my favorite.
Well, that's kind of you to say, and that's where you are today.
Right.
So we really appreciate you coming. Now, what has brought you to the Midwest?
My wife. My
All
wife
right.
is a professor at UW Stout.
Great.
And she left, and she liked the job offer that they gave her here because she teaches teachers. She's in the education department. And so she got here about a year and a half before I did because I was finishing out my contract at Gettysburg. And I used to visit here once a month until I moved here, not this past December, but December before last. So I've been here just a little bit over a year now.
Well, we are very fortunate, and I know that we've met with John Potter from the Phipps Center, and we're going to be having an offering of a class, a world drumming class,
Yes.
this summer at the Phipps, and hopefully in subsequent summers, right?
Yes.
This is where music education is. I mean, our job as music educators is to show all cultures, styles, knowledge, religions, respect all people, because the world is flat.
Right.
And so for the idea of your knowledge that you bring to this area is priceless to us. And I just want you to know I acknowledge that as a musician and music educator, let alone before we've even heard you play. It's unbelievable. Also, your website is quite extensive, so people can get on the website.
Right,
and you
exactly.
just were featured, I saw a video of the National Association of Music Merchants.
Right.
And I understand that that's one of the things that we're trying to do in music education with the National Association for Music Education is collaborate with the merchants, because that's that, again, boundary that we need to be respecting and nurturing. And we're using professional musicians of your caliber to perform and to bridge the gap, really. So tell us a little bit about NAMM, your visit and the conference and the convention.
Yeah, well, I endorse Remo percussion and drums. And so each year they give me a badge so I can go. I just have to get myself out there. So this is my second time going. And they have their own little space with all their merchandise and all the drums and everything. And they have little different things, presentations of different percussionists. You know, Pancho Sanchez is a Remo endorser. Jimmy Delgado is one. I mean, they have an array of percussionists from all over. And now they're really trying to bridge the gap between drummers who play percussion or who do both. I'm talking about a set of drums and congas. And they know that I have an innovation of my own, which is called the traponga, Traponga. So which I play 3 congas while I'm playing a set of traps. And so I do that at the same time. So next year they're going to be featuring me and another percussionist from, I think it's Venezuela, and another percussionist from Italy, who they do variations of that, you know, using trap set and world percussion. And so we're going to be featured next year, so that what they want to do is bring more drummers, you know, just straight up trap drummers or set drummers into the world of world percussion. And so that's one of the things that's really has me excited about being here, because I want to work with a lot of the drummers who are learning and studying here at River Falls. So I think it's going to be very interesting.
So you like to teach, is what you're saying, and so you're going to start a studio and bring the world of drumming to our region.
Yes, you know, that studio hopefully will be here.
All right. Okay, with that in mind, tell us about your relationship with jazz in Europe, because I think we've entered another era where jazz has become almost academic here. Yes, we've got the Dakota Bar and Grill, and we've got the Artist Quarter, but as far as jazz goes, it's kind of becoming part of, it's so funny, because years ago, you didn't want jazz as part of the university, and now jazz is definitely got a stronghold in the university, and that's where its identity is becoming, right? Outside of the some of these clubs. So tell us about your role, because you have a house in southern France.
Yes.
So tell us about your role with music and jazz worldwide.
Well, I mean, the thing is, things are changing so fast. Technology is going through the roof. The record companies, they don't even really know where they're at. You know, they're just trying to look how they're going to do. CDs are almost obsolete now, and going into MP3, and you tell me, and it'll
Right.
be
iTunes
anything.
downloads, they don't,
Right.
people want to buy one
Right.
clip, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very ironic that the music, jazz has moved inside academia, and they're turning out a lot of brilliant students. And the thing is they're turning them out, and they have nowhere to go. There's not the way it used to be. It's not the clubs all over in New York and San Francisco and Detroit and Chicago and D.C. and down the south or below that, you know, going down the eastern seaboard in the south. They don't have all those places like they have. So it's like hard to get, you know, fill your shoes or get the experience that you need to really call yourself a jazz musician. And only a few are getting through the bottleneck and getting the stature to take a band or to be able to travel all over the world. The one thing, Europe has always been ahead of the United States as far as appreciation and understanding of that jazz is an art form. And a lot of jazz musicians became expatriates, moving there. You know, Bud Powell, Dexter Gordon, Kenny Clarke, the drummer who was really one of the innovators of bebop. And but then now that's changing. Europe is changing, where some of the same things that are happening here are happening there. But they still have more places to play there, and they still have a respect for the music that is lacking here. And so when you go over there, you know, you're treated like, you know, that you're special, which is really nice.
Well, tell me about the billboard, because that was a funny comment. Where were you when you found that?
I was in France, in a place called Jouer le Tour. And when we were being taken to the hotel, and we were in a car, and I was in the back seat, and I was on the window seat, and I was just, and there's a median right in, you know, in the middle of the street, and I'm sitting here, and I look up, and there's this gigantic poster of me. and I said, oh, that's great, and everything. And then we go, and we walk into the hotel, and I see two little old ladies sitting there, and one of them points at me and says, that's Babatunde, you know. And so, I mean, that happens a lot. You know, I've been toured England extensively, and France, and been to Germany. I've been to Japan about 6 times. I played with John Handy in Japan, and I went to East Germany, when it was East Germany, with John Chakai,
wow.
Who was the tenor player that played with John Coltrane at one point. And then I toured my own band in England. And so, I mean, you're always continuing to do that and trying to get the gigs. And, you know, for me, a well-rounded experience of my career is to be able to travel and be a performing artist, and also have a foundation at some university or college where I'm teaching.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then also, you know, I'd give presentations, because I have a nonprofit organization called the Educultural Foundation, and our statement of purpose is that we teach critical thinking about social and cultural issues through the arts. And so we're like activists too, and we talk about planting the seeds of change everywhere that, you know, that we need, and especially sorely need
Absolutely.
today.
Tolerance, respect, inclusiveness, all of the things that we try to do
Yeah, because
starting
the
right
world
here.
is changing really quickly.
It is changing really quickly, and we don't want to be left behind.
Right, we definitely don't want to.
Yeah.
So we're definitely like that. I taught a course at Gettysburg called Polyrhythms as a Metaphor for Culture and Communication. And so that was all about that. And the premise is that polyrhythms, the master drummer spends his entire life to learn polyrhythms, and it just doesn't fall out of the sky. He has to work really very hard to understand that. The same thing with culture and knowing people. You just don't know people. You have to work. You have to have a will and a desire to understand and to be able to celebrate difference.
Correct.
Not be afraid of difference, but celebrate it. And so that's what we're teaching and that's what I'm teaching when I get a chance to present such curriculum, curricula. And so I'm looking forward to doing that and having more opportunities to do that, because this is what we need.
It is what we need, and that's why I'm embracing this and trying to promote your talents and your abilities through here. I know you got a group coming to the Phipps Center to perform in the next fall.
Yes.
And that's one of what we call your group. That means you get to pick the other people to play with.
Right. Well, I'll be playing music off of my CDs, and actually what I want to do is bring my band of my last recording, and all of them are in LA, in California anyway. Ernie Watts, who's a very well-respected tenor sax player. He played with the Tonight Show band for a number of years. And Patrice Rushen plays piano, and she's been been a star. And she's in both genres, in pop and funk, and also in jazz. And she's a very accomplished jazz player. Gary Brown, who knows everything about the bass and everything about the different genres. Not only does he play jazz, but he plays Afro-Cuban, and he plays Brazilian, Afro-Brazilian. And in fact, he was Airto and Flora Purim's bass player for years, and he's still working with them off and on. And so he's brilliant. And Dwight Tribble is the vocalist that I used in my tribute to Leon Thomas, and he lives in LA, and he's just, I call him the voice of the 21st century. And so I would like to bring them, because also they would be able to give master classes and everything in the area.
And it's fun when you put a group together, because you're communicating with them on a whole different level.
Right.
And that's why we go to concerts.
Exactly.
We can listen to a CD, and they're all fantastic, and you know, it's all by yourself. But when you go to a concert and you watch the interaction between people who love and respect each other, it's just magical.
There's nothing like it.
Yeah, and so I say to our viewing audience, you've got to get out and go to concerts and take what you can. And there's so many talented people out there, but if we don't support those events, they will go away, like they have in a lot of places throughout Europe.
Right, exactly, and here too. They just
And
go
here.
away. And the thing is that, I mean, jazz is an American art form, and we should really take another look and really kind of admonish ourselves there, because we've missed out on so much. And people don't understand just that jazz really chronicles the history of this country.
It does.
You know, on many different levels, and it is a performance art, and people need to see it happening when it's happening, not just record it. But they should listen to the recordings too, but they should come out and see the musicians do that, because that's that interaction. There's nothing like it, you know, because from playing and playing with the brilliant people that I've been fortunate enough to play, I believe that playing jazz with the improvisation component of it is the precursor for mental telepathy.
Interesting.
Yeah, because the thing is, what happens on stage when you get to a certain level and we play, you know, it kind of gets like,
Yeah, because you're almost anticipating what the next person's going to
You
do, and
do, and
you
that's
add,
right.
and
And then it gets to
that's
it.
what's
You
so
go
fun is
through a
the
door.
layering.
Right, yeah. So, yes, this country needs to really promote that. And Wisconsin and Minnesota and where I'm at right now, you guys really need to do that.
We've got some room for growth. Now, you've
Right.
got some instruments here, and you mentioned polyrhythms. Well, before we get into some polyrhythms, why don't you go ahead and explain a little bit of what you've got going here?
All right. Well, these here are West African instruments coming out of Nigeria. And the original instrument was a big gourd, and they used cowrie shells, like the little seashells
Okay.
and everything, and they called them agbe. And then through the slave trade, where Africans were being brought over here to be enslaved, and the ones that got dropped off into Cuba, you know, they brought a lot of their music and their drumming traditions with them. Unlike what happened to the Africans that reached the United States,
Right.
because the United States banned the drums because they felt they were scared of them because they knew that they could communicate through the drums, and they didn't want any enslaved Africans communicating from one place to another. So, but in Cuba, more of the culture came about, and one of these is this. This is a shekere, the way we say it here in the States, but in Cuba they call it chekere. You know, so they spell it Chekere, but we spell it over here Shekere.
Okay.
And it's a gourd. This is actually a calabash squash.
Okay.
Right. And you hear that tone, it comes from my palm hitting there. The other sound comes from like a skirt of beads that are put on this, like kind of like a macrame pattern like that. Then what happens is the gourds grow, they throw them in the corner, let them dry, they cut off the top, they scoop up all the pulp and the seeds and everything, and they let them dry, and they will, you know, shellac it or polyurethane in it, something, and put some in there so that it'll help with the tone. And then you got, you know, the different, you know, so it's like shake the ray, shake the ray, shake the ray.
Awesome.
This is one, and this is another one.
Great. And okay, this one's had a little bit more of a rough life.
Yeah, that was my favorite. Planes, trains, and automobiles.
Isn't that a movie?
Yeah. Right.
So much fun. Yeah, go for it.
This is a really loud.
Really loud.
This is for a rock band.
Okay, that one's for a rock band. That's why you like it. It pierces through the whole group.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so now we talked about polyrhythms. Two rhythms at once or more, multiple. And we've got three conga. Let's go ahead and explain about these drums and what you do and life.
Here, so they all three can be in the thing. So there's a story that goes, conga drums is not just the end story. They are Afro-Cuban instruments, and there are three different drums with three different names. The lowest one is called a tumba, T-U-M-B-A, tumba. The middle pitched one, this is one that they call the conga, or they'll call it segundo, which means second, or tre golpe, like the three sounds, part of the three sounds. And the highest drum is called the quinto. So you got tumba or tumbadora, tre golpe or segundo or conga, which became the generic for everything, for everybody, and the quinto. And there are three basic tones that you get from the conga. There's an open tone, there's a slap tone, and there's a bass tone. and these are made, these are the tones that you make to make up all the different rhythms. And there are different little variations in between. So like, this is like a closed slap. That's an open slap. Then that's like kind of a muff. It's a little tone, but you cut it off. And so.
All right, I love it. And
Thank
you know, a lot of people can learn to do this, and it's great for self-expression.
Yeah, yes. I mean, we're just touching the tip of the iceberg. And there's such a great deal to know and learn about these particular percussion instruments. And because a lot of things go with it. Chanting, different chants, dances,
Okay.
and just really knowing the culture, you know, that it comes from, and learning about the culture. Another thing is that what these drums teach you is they teach you about the spiritual nature of the music and one's connection. And a lot of times that's what's lacking in academia. And you learn all the notes and you become brilliant technicians, but they don't learn how these things are put together and connected, and where the very essence of who you are can come out through that music. And that's, I mean, every brilliant artist that you hear, you will see that's happening.
Yes, you see
know,
the spirit, you
yeah,
see
you
the
see the
connection,
spirit,
you
and
see
you see
them
who-
manifesting their inside to the outside, no matter what the medium is.
Right, and they're the ones who can make the hair stand up on your arm. And so that's something very important that I teach and try to impart and pass along to, you know, budding musicians and even the musicians who have been doing it for a while, understanding about the connection, how the connections all work, because that goes right back to the polyrhythms, that goes back to culture. You know, we have to learn how we connect.
Everybody's interrelated.
Yep.
So polyrhythms, you just did a number of them on there for us. Could you go ahead and show me a little bit about what we're going to be doing with the symphony band, with when you get the different sounds going, using your arms, and we've got different people playing, and you know, how many people could be in a group?
Right. Well, you know, it all depends on these drums, there are different traditions in Afro-Cuba itself, you know, where you can go from rumba to bembe 6/8 to macuto to comparsa, and there are different parts for each one of these genres of drumming. And what we're going to be using, we're using a little bit of a bembe 6/8. Well, bembe 6/8, there are three different parts, and there's going to be three drummers here, myself plus two of your students, and they're playing different instruments. One, the bottom part, or the tumba part, is like this. And then the segundo part is. The part is. So what it'll sound like this once it's put together. We're going to be doing that rhythm, and then we're going to be doing a little bit of kind of like, since we're put it together, a little hybrid of a little merengue, it was like, and a little bit of macuto, and a little bit of rumba. So I mixed all those three things in there for each instrument, and we also have one of your percussionists who's playing a cowbell.
Yeah.
Right. So, and we had a very great rehearsal today.
Well, it's so interesting because, again, to bring world music, which I think is a responsibility, again, back to music education, from the concert hall stage, we've got to explore all kinds of music, and it's easy to listen, but to truly create it and make it authentic and be respectful and to learn more and to want to learn more about cultures, it really helps to have an authority figure coming in and leading us. So I really appreciate your time.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much for having me. And that's very important, is exactly everything you said about learning it and respecting it, and actually who needs to really respect it, because it's always the conductors and the music teachers and everything who really respected everything. But a lot of times they don't have the purse strings.
True.
Right.
In our society, you're right.
Right, but the thing is that the administrators, are the ones who got to really understand when they're, educating their students, that we want our students to have a 360-degree education.
Right.
And when you don't have this, then there's something that's lacking.
And if you can't take your students out and travel the world, you need to, which is always great, you need to bring people
the world
in,
to them,
and you bring
right.
the world in. And that's
Right,
always been my
exactly.
goal at River Falls, is to bring the world to River Falls and expose people in the goal of cultural respect and awareness and getting to be better at whatever you do while expressing your soul.
Right, exactly. Well, I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, I'm going to let you go ahead and wrap us up by playing just a little bit. So go for it, and it's been a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for coming to River Falls and sharing your talents.
Okay,
Thank you.
Well,
Go for it.